All right. So, welcome to week number 5 of the masterclass. This is Marty Orifice, founder of Loving Autism. Got some fancy new shirts here. And tonight we're going to wrap up our training together. So, let me see real quick if we can just mute. Oh, there we go. Manage. I got you, Krista. You're all good. There we go. All right, so tonight we're wrapping everything up, and our goal is to help our children thrive, and I've shown you exactly what we need to do in order to make that happen. And if we're not implementing what we've been learning, then it doesn't make sense to continue to just dump more and more information on you guys. So if you just implement what I've already taught you over the past 4 weeks, both you and your child's life will look drastically different in just a few short months. That said, I can't do it for you. So you're going to hear that theme quite a bit tonight, but it's true. So before we get going, let's walk through a little bit of housekeeping. As long as technology works together with us, this call will be recorded and placed in the members area tomorrow, as well as the audio only version, so you can listen on the go, as well as any links to products and things like that. So tonight's a little bit different because part of our time together is going to be set up as a workshop. So that means you get to participate, to get specific questions answered, help with challenges you're facing, ask any questions. Really, the time is yours and we can just use it to work together. So if you have a question, you can put it in the chat bar as we go, and we'll get to it during the workshop section. Also, I'll be asking you guys to jump on and talk, or if you're feeling very brave tonight, you can turn on your video and share your smiling face. We already have a few people that are lined up to do that. So the point here tonight is not to just learn a bunch more and walk away smarter. The goal of this entire training has been to give you the tools required to implement these life changes and then make better decisions along the way to help you heal your child. So I'm here as your guide tonight, and you'll get the opportunity to use me as much as you'd like. So number of goals for tonight in this training. I'd like to show you what's possible if you implement what I've taught you. And so we're going to have a few examples of that besides my story. And we're going to hear from 2 different moms who committed to a better life for their family. And I think you guys will just be blown away hearing their stories. And we'll also be doing a quick recap of some of the highlights and then rolling into our workshop section. And I'll stick around as long as we need to. Also, I'm going to be looking for feedback on this training. Testimonials, wins, success stories. Did you like it? Did you not? Was it too scientific? Not enough? Too short? Too long? All those things. We're going to be sending out a survey to you at the end. I think it's ready. I'm not 100% sure, but most likely it'll be emailed out tomorrow. And I would just really appreciate it if you just take like 3 minutes, and if you just fill it out and you could say, hey, you're the best, or, you need a little bit of work. Before we get going, as always, I am not a doctor. Don't pretend to be one. I'm a father that's done a ton of research and done a tremendous amount of experiments and just put a ton of time into this and found stuff that is based in science and really works. Everything expressed here, though, is my opinion and not medical advice. So do your own research. All right. So over the past 5 weeks, things have gotten spicy, haven't they? Covered a ton of ground. Your heads are like barely fit into your cars now, just filled with tons of information. But change isn't easy, especially for our kids. But the only way to get them to thrive is if we commit. And I can't do it for you. So, and I said this before, and I'm just going to repeat it because it is worth repeating, is that you can't ask your child to do something that you're not willing to do yourself. And that's just a really important concept. So if you're making changes in the family, it makes it a heck of a lot easier if the entire family's on board and doing it with them. So quick question, are you interested or are you committed? Interested is reading the blog post. Committed is pulling the pin on the grenade, right? You guys have shown that you've been committed enough to stay with me throughout this entire process for 5 weeks. And I know that hasn't been easy. Life is crazy. This is, bedtime, dinner time. So I applaud you for that. And you already have the information you need, truly. And it's taken me years of study, experimentation, coaching, hiring mentors, all that in order for me to put this together for you guys. So now that you have it, it's up to you. Now, we're all committed to something, and for each one of us, that can vary. Some of us are committed to the path of least resistance. You know, you've met people like this. Some people are committed to having, with our children, the least amount of meltdowns. Certainly seen that. No matter what it takes, stop the meltdown or the tantrum or whatever, we give it to them. Or the happiness, right? The kids has a hard enough life. We might as well give them what they want in order to make them happy. The reality is true change will require a commitment to a better life for our children. And this won't work if you're not committed. It really won't. It takes someone with strong resolve and emotional strength. So when things aren't easy, you can always lean on that commitment that you made to your child. So you need to be willing to say no in order to say yes to their future. And so the real question is, what are you committed to? I know for me, I'm committed to helping my son achieve his potential and remove anything that stands in the way of reaching that goal. Does it take more planning? Yes. Is my grocery bill higher? Yes. Has the lifestyle change that I've had to make been worth it? You bet your ass. Like, no question about it. It's worth it, and I would do it all over again. And I think an incredible example of this is someone that we're going to bring on live now to chat with us. Her name is Nicole, and you'll get to meet here. And she is the perfect example of commitment and what she did to help her son. And I am going to bring her on. All right, Nicole, can you start up your video? There you are. Hey, Nicole. Oh, looks like I have to unmute you. It's important if I want to be able to hear you.
Right?
Heck yeah. All right. So why don't you give a little intro about yourself,
Okay.
child, how old, all that good stuff.
I am 41 years old, single mom of a 13-year-old son. He was diagnosed when he was about 3 years old with autism. And before that, when he was 2.5, I self-diagnosed him and did some research and reading. And the one thing I knew I could do on my own without a doctor was putting him on the gluten casein-free diet. And so between 2.5 and 3, he was doing that. Or we started with that before he was even diagnosed, because I knew something was up. Like, just reading about it, I knew I knew he had autism. So I got it confirmed by doctors later on.
Gotcha. So you were just like, there's something going on here. I know what it is, or I have a good idea. Let's do what I can.
Right.
To remedy the situation. So that was right before his 3rd birthday. You started switching up his diet.
Right.
Okay, cool. So what were you feeding him before? What was he eating? What was his
Frosted mini wheats, cheese, yogurt, milk, peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Those are the things I really remember him eating the most of. So
okay. So like the classic gray diet, dairy and wheat.
Probably, right?
Yeah.
Everything. When I read about the diet, I knew it was like one of like 20 things that I could do, but 19 of them needed a doctor. So that was the one I could do on my own, but I was like, how am I going to do that? That's the only thing he eats. How am I going to do it?
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's like a daunting task, isn't it?
I know. I was like, so then I just started looking for the same types of foods with different ingredients. So
okay. So if you guys remember back, I forget if it was either week 3 or week 4, we talked about the substitution method. So you would just take something that he was already eating, switch it out for a better alternative.
right.
Okay.
Without gluten and casein. That,
okay. So I
made mistakes, and so I grew, Rice Dream has 0.01% gluten in it. I didn't know that. So I learned that a few months later, and so I pulled that out eventually, and things got better and better and better. So
sure. What was like your biggest challenge doing that?
Doing what? Changing the diet?
Yeah, like just that lifestyle switch.
That I can't do anything without thinking about food. Like, where if we go to church, if he goes to school, if we go anywhere, I have to think about what's he going to eat. So I have to plan and bring stuff for him. So,
And it's a lot different now too, because 10 years ago, it was way different because grocery stores didn't even carry organic foods really. Like you had to go to Whole
right.
Foods and things like that.
Totally. So it was a huge change and not the easiest task to do. And I think it's way easier now. But that diet evolved for me because I ended up pulling out corn and soy as well, and then all starch and all sugar, which I don't say do that because it's super extreme. I do recommend it, but I know it's like a really big ask of parents.
Yeah, well, that's like what we talked about throughout the course is, those things cause inflammation. So if you remove the things that cause inflammation and things that cause issues in the gut, then our children can begin to heal. So you started implementing. How long did it take before you noticed any changes?
I think it was immediate enough to where I saw his tantrums diminish. And then I started, like, I used to call him Pinocchio because I thought he started becoming a real life boy and started paying attention to the kids in the room instead of just spinning tires on a car, he'd be like in the corner, until I put him on the diet, and then he started like more engaging and stopped the tantruming. That was huge. So
like the behavioral stuff, you started to see some changes socially, and it was, you're talking like a week, a month, like 6 months, like how long do you think?
I think, to be honest, I can't be sure, but I would say within a couple weeks, if not sooner than that. I don't know. I think it was really immediate, but it's been 10 years because he's 13 and I started this at 2.5.
Yeah. I know for me, it was 30 days. And that's when I felt, I say the lights went on where you were talking to the wall, and then all of a sudden you could start communicating and looking you in the eye more and stuff like that.
Right.
So how did that affect like your day to day? Were you having in daycare or school or anything like that?
He went into what's called, in Florida, they have Child Find. And so they put him in like a VPK kind of thing for like 3-year-olds that have special needs.
Yeah.
So he started going to school at 3 years old. But I just got everyone in my life. I was a determined mom. I'm doing this for my son and I'm advocating for him, and everyone was on board. And then if he got any gluten, they would see that they would be like, oh, he needs to be on this diet, because they could see the difference too. So everyone was on board. And then of course my family just, they loved him, did their own research as well, and listened and respected me and what I wanted to do for my son. So everyone in our life did get on board. And then I was one of those moms, like, stuff happens, but if he gets something, can you please tell me so that I can, kind of like look out for it. So
and understand what's going on.
Exactly. So there was a couple times, like in at the nursery at church, he got some Cheerios, and then this one time he got a graham cracker. I could not stop him if I wanted to. I couldn't stop him. So
what did he do when he would switch back?
So I remember after the Cheerios, I took him to Publix to go grocery shopping, and he didn't know if he wanted to push the cart or me to push the cart, and it was just like horrible. Total tantrum meltdown in Publix. Like, not, totally
all the fun stuff.
fun stuff.
Did you try anything else besides, I know that like this particular plan with, wasn't around, but I know that you were committed. So what else did you try?
I think when he was 3, maybe 3.5, I got him into a Dan doctor, and she recommended all kinds of like supplements, and we did a hyperbaric oxygen therapy study. So I did that. I've taken him to Panama to get stem cells. I've taken him to get acupuncture with the light. I've taken him to functional medicine doctors. I take him to the chiropractor. He gets functional neurology. Like, I've done a lot.
Okay. Wow. Traveled around the world.
Right.
So with all of that, like, what do you see has had the biggest impact on him and on your guys' life?
When people ask me this, you're not the only one, but when they do, this diet is number one. This is the one thing I would not change. I think it has impacted him the most, and it's been worth it. I'll say at times it's been torturous, and just like, you gotta, not torture, that's extreme, but
A
like,
little extreme, yeah.
it's planning and commitment and, advocating for your child. And so, but it has been so worth it, to the point where he was like, I would say, oh, that hurts your tummy. That hurts your tummy. So I do believe it actually did hurt his tummy. And so then he regulated his own diet. So that made it kind of easy. After a while, it wasn't immediate because he was like so young, but
Yeah.
he regulated his own diet. He'd be like, oh, I can't have that. I can't have that. I can't have that. If people would say, hey, do you want this? Oh, I can't have that. To where I would have probably said okay to some of the stuff he said no to.
Yeah.
And I was proud of him because he took his own healing into his own hands. So I have noticed that about him. And of course, I'm a proud mom for that.
Yeah, of course. That's really cool. And I had that same experience too, where people would offer him something, be like, no, thank you. That's not good for my belly.
Right.
Stuff like that. So that's good. So you've obviously been through a 10-year journey. What advice would you give to parents who are just starting out on this?
The first thing, do the gluten, casein free diet. Start there. Start to see, he's in the background making all kinds of noise, sorry. But start with the diet. That is number one. Like, on all my list of everything I've done, flying to Panama for stem cells, acupuncture, hyperbaric oxygen therapy, that will be number two. But diet is number one all the way.
Okay.
And yeah.
Cool. I'll add supplements to that as well.
I did supplements. Well, he did for the first probably 4 or 5 years. And then eventually I just either couldn't afford it or just, because one thing I learned from a Dan doctor is this is a marathon. It's not a sprint. And so you got to like pace yourself. And
I think I have that saying on one of the slides. So that's good that you said that.
oh, perfect, right?
Yeah. No kidding. Okay, cool. Now, can you stick around and people can ask you questions in a little bit?
Sure.
Cool. Well, thank you so much. I very much appreciate you getting on here and sharing your story and everything else.
Absolutely.
Everybody on, can you give Nicole a little virtual clap and send her some virtual love as well? Thank you, Nicole. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Anytime.
All right. And I am going to stop your video just for a moment until a little bit later.
Okay.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. Now let me share my screen. All right. We are back. This is my favorite right here. All right. I love that picture of the donkey completely overloaded. All right. Now, Nicole, you've obviously committed to a better future. And I know all of you that are on, you guys can do the same thing. And we started out this entire process by exploring this concept that kids aren't born with autism, right? They're developing normally and they're going along. And then one day there's the tipping point where development stops and even goes backwards. And I believe that there's many things that cause that tipping point. And it all starts with, just on a very high level, there's environment and toxins that then lead to compromised gut and immunity, which leads to inflammation, and to a point where then the body goes into overload. And as you can see from the picture, this donkey is clearly overloaded. So you have excess toxins, compromised immunity, you put them together and you just have this toxic cocktail that a little developing, sensitive body can't handle. So big thing to remember, these kids have sensitive systems. So when you load up their bodies with poisons and things that require that fight to process, all of their cellular energy then just goes and is used for self-preservation and not for growth. So it's imperative to remove the toxins and to get the things out of their environment and out of their stomachs that will cause that issue. So our goal, very simple: clear that cloud of inflammation and neurotoxicity so our children can begin to develop again. Then we went through and we talked about some myths surrounding implementing like a plan like this. So we're going to go through just a few of the most important ones here. First thing, it's too hard. The reality is this is not easy. You heard Nicole say it. One, our kids are addicts, so it's really hard to change. And two, this requires more thought than just giving them anything they want, and at first, especially when you don't give them what they want, life becomes a little bit more difficult. But trust me, it was certainly a challenge, but life gets way easier because just like Nicole said, the tantrums go from, a 12, or meltdowns really, go from a 12 down to a more normal level, like a 3. So definitely worth it. Life does get easier. Okay, so my child will only eat XYZ. Just fill in the blank. Gummy bears, Pop-Tarts, you name it. I get it. My son was the same way. You heard Nicole talk about her son the same way. I think all these kids are on the same eating plan. And as parents, we get really scared that if the kid doesn't eat, we just give them the crap because we want them to have something. And the reality is, when you just give them that something, you're doing them way more harm than you are good. Your child won't starve if they go to bed hungry. Like, trust me, they won't. At some point, they're going to eat. And sometimes change requires them going to bed hungry a few times until they realize that the way that they used to deal with it and the way that you used to interact with them, that manipulation won't work anymore. It doesn't happen. They realize, okay, if I don't eat what's on my plate, then I'm going to go to bed hungry. And most kids will choose eating a non-preferred food over going to bed hungry when they actually know that that's going to happen. Some people call me cruel, whatever you want, but it's just the truth. So, all right. And the other one is food and supplements don't matter. This is just 100% false. Like, truly, diet fundamentally changes our biology, our gut biome, which we talked about, gene expression, brain function, hormones, energy levels, susceptibility to infections and cancer and diabetes, celiacs and Crohn's, and the condition of our arteries, likelihood of a heart attack and stroke. Everything comes from food, right? If you eat a peanut and you're allergic, you can die. A peanut. And drinking alcohol, we all know what that does. So none of that's controversial. So why is the fact that diet can affect our extra sensitive small brains and bodies of our kids on the spectrum? Like, why is that still in dispute? It's absolutely crazy to me. So let's review some of the fundamental concepts. We're going to do all this stuff really quickly, but we learned about the microbiome, which is that engine in the gut of bacteria that drives our children's body and brain to either healing or dysfunction. It just depends on the balance of bacteria and the condition. We learned about the intestinal wall and leaky gut, which is kind of like that cheesecloth that lets the good stuff in and keeps the bad stuff out. We learned about inflammation, chronic inflammation, and how the brain can't fully develop if all the body's energy is used to fight off those perceived threats of food and toxins. And we learned that changing, and this is from scientific studies, that changing the gut and reducing inflammation fundamentally changes the brain and can improve symptoms of autism. And last but not least, we learned about my 2R protocol. So let's jump into that real quick. All right, so the first step in the 2R protocol is to remove the food and chemicals in our children's diets that cause the biggest issues. Number one, wheat. We went through, I think there was 8 different components of wheat that cause issues in the gut and in the brain. So number one, sugar, dairy, and removing all of the pesticides as much as we can. So with sugar and dairy, it's hard to eliminate completely because they're all around. But what we can do is reduce them drastically, and that gives our kids a much better chance. All right, so the next part of the 2R protocol is the repair. So how do we do that? There's 2 parts of this. Number one is food. So we're changing the food that our children eat. Now, I realize on a slide we use the word diet. Fundamentally, this is not a diet. We aren't implementing a diet. We're implementing a new way to see food. We're meaning a lifestyle change that will impact the rest of our child's lives. You heard Nicole talk about it. She said, we've been doing this 10 years. Diets don't last 10 years. Diets last typically from January 1st to January 7th. And then, that's a diet. This is a lifestyle change. So what should we be eating? And then we said that we're going to be eating very similar to paleo with the intention of lowering inflammation. So just very simply, we're eating organic and we're shopping on the outside aisles of our grocery stores. The food in the middle, and we went over all that stuff, is not what, that's where all the toxins and pesticides are hidden inside those. And we also are not going to be afraid of the healthy fats. Grass-fed butter, coconut oil, things like that. The whole 80s craze of low fat, all that did was made us fatter and sicker, and it actually hurts our children's brains. Our children and we need fat for fuel in our brains and also for our hormones. Okay, so now let's jump quickly into supplements. We add in supplements to, number one, heal the gut and reduce inflammation. So for the gut, which is the most important place to start, in my opinion, is we start with Probiotics 1, and that helps rebalance the gut. It adds in the beneficial strains to restore that balance of good versus bad, right? Then we add in digestive enzymes to help break down the food so that our children can get the nutrients that they need and reduce inflammation. So you have these, we talked about that leaky gut. When the food particles go into the body undigested, it causes inflammation. The body sees it as invaders. Taking digestive enzymes allows the body to break down the food completely, get the nutrients, and not allow that to happen. Examples here, and we have all of the links in the members area as well. Then we use the supplement Restore, which helps heal the tight junctions in the gut and helps protect against pesticides like glyphosate and helps create that healthy bacteria balance. And the last one is Entersol Gel, which binds the toxins and pathogens in the gut. And when you're first starting out, I recommend this because there may be die-off and there's extra pathogens and things in the gut that it binds to and then allows to be eliminated safely without getting into the bloodstream. All right, these are supplements for overall health. So I use a multivitamin called Potential, which is just the coolest thing. It's the first nutritional supplement ever receive a patent to improve learning, academic, and behavior functioning. So you can look it up online and we have a link to it, but they've done studies where they give these to kids in school districts, and school districts go from last 1 year to first the next. It's got some really, really cool stuff that no other vitamin that I've seen has for our kids. We add in omega-3 fatty acids. We do that to reduce inflammation. Same thing we've been talking about, and help the brain work better. And this is a big one too, guys. Sulforaphane, which is broccoli sprout extract. It's really hard to get our kids to eat a pound or two of broccoli, and we can get to do it really easily by taking a small capsule or putting it in their juice or something like that. And this is the craziest thing, but taking sulforaphane has been proven in scientific studies to reduce symptoms of autism. I think it's by like 40% in over half the people. Like it helps your body detox and helps their body detox. So really important. What the heck? Okay. The next thing is Organifi green juice. And this is just, it's a mix and it has 12 superfood ingredients. And it's a great way to get healthy greens into our children's diets. Okay. Last thing is typical meals. So we want to look and see on our children's plate what is ideal. I think this is a little bit off. I found this graphic, but the way I look at it is, you have a protein, veggies, and a fat. And I will include a fruit occasionally, but that's not the main part of the meal. So it's veggies, protein, fat, and water. And typically fat is either nuts, almonds, or avocado, something like that, and water. Lastly, we learned about food packaging and how these food packaging is an absolute advertising masterpiece. And really, they're designed to deceive us with a healthy promise and then distract us from the unhealthy truths that are hidden on the back and the labels. So how do we read labels, right? We went over this example where we have classic Lay's versus baked Lay's. And the first thing we did is we looked at the packaging and we said, okay, classic versus baked, which one looks and feels healthier, right? And it was baked. Then what we did is we looked on the nutritional facts on the back, how much calories, fat, cholesterol, things like that. Baked still had it until the moment of truth, and this is always the moment of truth, is when we take a look at the ingredient list. Ingredients tell us what's really happening in the food. And most people only look at the front of the package to make that purchase decision. But in order to make an informed decision, we need to be looking at all three all the time. And you need to be in the grocery store reading the labels, reading everything that you're putting in the cart, because the front of the package, for the most part, lies. And we have a really quick guideline, and that's less ingredients, the better. And if you can pronounce them, that's what we're looking for. So not a lot of different chemicals and things like that. All right, next we took a round the world tour, exploring some of the really fun ingredients that are banned around the world, yet, I don't know, for some reason, they're still 100% legal in the United States. So we have ingredients that are used as flame retardants, industrial floor protectors, ingredients used in yoga mats and tires and electronics and couches and the soles of our sneakers. Ingredients that if you're caught using them as food ingredients, you'll get 15 years in prison. Ingredients linked to cancer, autism, developmental delays, birth defects, asthma, allergies. Like, I could literally spend the entire night just like going down the list of all these things that these ingredients cause, but I won't do that. Let's just move right on. But it's interesting because we let our kids eat and drink them all the time, and then we sit back and we go, I wonder why their bodies and brains aren't functioning properly, optimally. It's probably not the best thing for our kid-sensitive systems. Can you guys see how that would be extremely harmful? Yeah. All right, then we took a look at toxins, MSG, fake sugars like aspartame, food dyes, toxins in our other household products like shampoos and lotions and things like that. And one of the most scary, which is the major issues with our water supply. Now, I'm not going to get into too much detail here. I just want to hit a few points. One is that big food and chemical companies pump our food with toxins that cause major issues in our children. Okay? And we can avoid the majority of these toxins and help heal our children just by making better choices, right? If we decide to buy laundry detergent that isn't full of chemicals that affect our kids' system, then, if we buy food that is not going to affect them, then that's the choices that we can make and make a huge impact. I know this may sound harsh, but I'm going to say it anyway, okay? Choosing to let your child consume these foods that have toxins and things like that directly impacts their sensitivities, their ability to learn, their ability to grow, their ability to socialize, and their ability to reach their potential. You are not helping them, you're not showing them love by treating them with poison, okay? This is misguided way of thinking, and it can cause irreversible harm. And I know that, you read the love languages, and I know for me that was really big, is that I want to show them love by giving comfort food and things like that, because that's the way I was showed love. But the reality is it's just a messed up way of thinking, and we need to retrain our brain. So up next, I have a very special treat for you guys. And Christine, I did see you raise your hand. We'll get to you in a second, right after we get done with Tiffany. And if you have a question, you can just put it in the chat bar directly to me, and I will answer it for you guys. Oh, hold on one second. All right. We are good to go.
Okay.
Hey, Tiffany.
Hey, Marty.
Thanks for jumping on with us. For you guys, Tiffany and I work together, and we got a loud dog here. All right, can you give me a little background on yourself?
Sure. Well, my husband and I, we have 2 children. My daughter is 7 and my son is 2. He's about to be 3 on the 1st of September. Grayson was born premature and he did have quite a few things going on. So with that said, of course, the doctors always mentioned that we needed to kind of be cognizant of his mental development and his behavior, just because he's more prone to have more things going on because he was born premature. So we kept an eye out for everything. And then we noticed Grayson's wonderful behaviors that he.
All right, I am told that we are having technical difficulties. So give me 1 second. Communication issue.
And he started saying some words, then
I'm gonna just start it over real quick so you guys can see it from the start. All right, we are good to go.
Okay.
Hey, Tiffany.
Hey, Marty.
Thanks for jumping on with us. For you guys, Tiffany and I work together, and we got a loud dog here. All right, can you give me a little background on yourself?
Sure. Well, my husband and I, we have 2 children. My daughter is 7 and my son is 2. He's about to be 3 on the 1st of September. Grayson was born premature and he did have quite a few things going on. So with that said, of course, the doctors always mentioned that we needed to kind of be cognizant of his mental development and his behavior, just because he's more prone to have more things going on because he was born premature. So we kept an eye out for everything. And then we noticed Grayson's wonderful behaviors that he started having as he was growing up, with banging his head, standing on his tippy toes. He started learning how to speak and he started saying some words. Then I want to say after he started speaking, about 2 months after the fact, he just stopped speaking and started making sounds and getting frustrating and grunting as opposed to talking to us. And just the frustrations of it all, trying to communicate and just not being able to anymore.
Sure. So you got all different types of behavior. You have communication issues and some cognitive delays, things like that.
Yes, definitely.
Okay. And when did you start making changes with your family?
Well, we weren't really looking for changes at one point in time. We were just kind of just notating all the things that we've seen. Until we met friends at Downtown Disney, Disney Springs now. And my son, after dinner, we had a normal dinner at a restaurant. After we were done, we started walking around, and he decided he needed to run the stroller over every single manhole that he's seen on the way back to the parking lot. That wasn't so bad, but there was this little girl that was looking at...
It was an OCD type behavior.
Yes, that's an understatement.
Yeah.
There was a little girl on, this is a big point for me, because she was in a wheelchair looking at the fountain, just perfectly fine, perfectly content. When your child decides to go scream at another kid with obviously something going on that hits you on an emotional level, knowing that, hey, that parent's around, it's going to feel some type of way, that kid has something else going on, and your child is not stopping screaming at them, just for them to roll off the manhole so he can go over it with a stroller. So for me, that was my point where I needed to do something.
Okay, and what did you end up doing?
So the first thing I did was I We actually changed the way he ate. Just for him, though. We didn't do it for the entire family yet. We figured that out way later in the game. I wish I would have done it sooner. But we actually changed the way he ate. So we took out gluten, we took out dairy, all junk food of any kind, no candies, went organic for everything, grass-fed meats, along those lines.
Okay.
Mhm.
Cool. And what were you feeding him before? What was before that?
He only ever wanted to eat oatmeal for breakfast. He ate chicken nuggets, goldfish, graham crackers. Honestly, and that's really it. He kept with the same foods all the time. He never really ventured out.
Okay. And the typical gray diet that I'm sure everyone's aware of.
Absolutely.
So you go from like goldfish and things like that, and then into this new way of eating. Like, what were the biggest challenges to implement that type of change, especially with a kid that's like fixed up?
Oh, I mean, just staying consistent and staying sane, I think would be the biggest thing. We have plenty of times where he decided to throw plates, scream, put food in random places underneath the couch, wherever it was, where it wasn't on his plate, to screaming for hours at a time because he would not eat that green thing that is on his plate. Texture was a big issue. Just knowing it wasn't the ketchup from the Heinz bottle because the label was different. Everything was very different. So I really had to take to a point that I know dinner was going to no longer be the 30 minutes it used to be. It was now an hour or however long. It was whatever it took to get that meal to happen.
So you encountered a tremendous amount of resistance in pulling off this change.
Yes, yeah, that's an understatement. Yes.
Okay, and then you start doing it, and how long before you notice a difference in his behavior if you do?
It was about a little over 30 days, I would say, difference. We changed everything kind of cold turkey. So it was one day we kind of threw everything away and then started fresh. So I would say about 30 days for his body to kind of get used to everything.
Okay, if you were doing it over, would you do that where you would just say, hey, today's the day, that way there's no option with the stuff in the cupboard to go back to?
Absolutely. It's like ripping off a Band-Aid, just prolonging the inevitable. You could do the same thing with the pacifier. You got to do the same thing with the food.
Yeah. All right, cool. So it took about 30 days to notice a change. What type of things did you notice?
He started thinking. His wheels started turning, which was new. Usually you would talk at him and he wouldn't respond. He didn't even respond to his name. He never said, I love you. He never gave a hug. He never showed empathy. And then after those 30 days, when I would speak, he would look at me. When I would say his name, he would look to see what I wanted. And then he started asking questions, full sentences that apparently was there the entire time, but he just couldn't let out for whatever reason. And then you really realize he was watching everything the entire time, but he wasn't able to communicate what he was seeing. So that for me was a huge deal.
For sure, yeah. And to see that, like, the light go on, that's always a really cool feeling to see that happen.
Yes.
Were there any difference in terms of behavior, in terms of meltdowns? Was he eating here? What was socialization like with other kids, things like that?
That got a lot easier too. So Grayson had issues in daycare. He goes to daycare. I work full-time, a full-time mom. And he would always get those wonderful Oh No reports, usually 3 in a given day. He would yell, he would scream, not participate. He would scream on ours. I would get these phone calls at work saying, hey, your kid's still screaming. We don't know what to do. Can you come and pick him up? After that time frame, now he follows the instructions, not perfectly the entire time, but he listens and he makes decisions whether he's going to listen or not. It's not just screaming the entire time.
Yeah.
And he's participating and he's happier, and we get a lot less Oh No reports now from school. He's doing great.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yes, no one likes that feeling that your kid's doing something wrong all the time.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so you've noticed a big shift. And one, have you had any times where you've reverted back to an old way of eating or something like that? Or if something gets slipped, you notice a change?
There's definitely slips. I mean, things happen. You can control as much as you possibly can. So there was an instance where we were away from the house. My parents decided to take the kids to a birthday party, which is 100% fine. He left with his backpack full of food, of things that he can eat, because that's one thing you'll get used to is you're usually traveling with your own gear. So they went to this birthday party, and my father decided to give him a piece of candy and decided to give him some cake because he's a little boy. He needs to be a little boy. He needs to be the kid that he's meant to be, quote unquote, whatever that means. So for the next 3 days after that party, Grayson was, he was pulling window coverings and he was screaming, and his body was actively, seemingly rejecting the food that he was eating. Consistent bowel movements, stomach pain. He couldn't go to sleep. And he was like that for 3 days. He was not allowed to go to daycare because daycare.
Oh, shoot.
Destroy his dinner plate at the kitchen table.
Sorry about that. Oh.
Yourself going and keeping strong.
I had to keep my end goal in mind. Morning when he's still screaming, he does not want to eat dinner. That and give yourself a break. My son would, like I said, really have these flip out moments for hours at a time. I would let him freak out. I will let him destroy his dinner plate at the kitchen table. I can always clean that, but I would go to the next room, shut the door, and just breathe because I had to keep my end goal in mind, and I had to remember what I was doing and the whole purpose of what I was doing.
Yeah.
And I just needed to get that break. So it's okay to just give yourself a minute and collect yourself before you go back into the battleground of getting your kid to eat what they're supposed to eat.
So this sounds like it was a tremendous battle. How did you keep yourself going and keeping strong with that commitment?
Well, for me, it was just the foundation of what I thought I should be as a parent. So one thing my parents instilled in me is it's my job as a parent to make this generation better than the next. And when the foundation's broken, there's no way we can get to the next step. For whatever reason, Grayson was missing it. And he couldn't even talk to children. He was just fighting all the time. And the kid hasn't even made it to grade school yet. I can't drag him along and say, these are the steps you need to take. Seriously, something is broken. So once I fix that foundation and he's able to now communicate, then we can start working out with the other fundamentals. But if I just kept that in mind, this is my end goal, this is what I'm supposed to do, and this is how I'm supposed to be as a parent, that kept me going.
Is it worth it?
Of course it's worth it. I mean, this is a life that you've created. They didn't ask to be here, and the fact that you're doing your all and trying to give them your all, and regardless if it's uncomfortable for you or not, I mean, of course it's worth it. I mean, that's without question.
That's awesome. Well, listen, I so appreciate your time and chatting with us. Honor you and respect you. Being vulnerable and sharing your story, I appreciate that. So,
Yeah, appreciate it.
You have a wonderful evening.
Thanks. You too.
All right. Wow, that was powerful. I didn't screw up the technology a little bit, but wow. Now I'd like to hear from you guys. If you're in a spot where you can, turn on your camera, turn on your microphone, raise your hand. I'd like to hear from all you guys. And now is the time we get to work together. So I put some questions up here just to get those wheels turning a little bit. So what's been your biggest takeaway from the training? Have you implemented the 2R protocol? Have you done eating? Have you done supplements? Have you done both? What are the biggest challenges you guys are facing? Wins, behavior changes. And I'm gonna unmute you, Christy, because I know you had your hand up. as well as Nicole. And I'm gonna all right, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So you had your hand up, and I just wanted to get through that to get to here, but what was your question?
When you were talking about shopping and how deceiving it is, I've read a lot of things about that red dye is the most affecting dye, and I've read a lot of, silly little articles about this food or that food being more harmful than others. And I've heard baked is better than fried and all that. Is there really any difference in the dyes that you've
Yes.
noticed?
So each dye, and if you go back and listen to, I believe it was last week, we went in depth into those toxins and dyes and things like that. But each dye has its own issues and things that it causes. So some dyes cause sleep disturbances. Some dyes cause, more aggressive and, amped up behavior. So it can vary depending. So the idea though is to stay away from the artificial dyes. There's dyes that they can use in food products that are natural. And since most of the dyes are banned around the world, the food companies make a different product and send it there. Like you can use turmeric and you can use different things. So the short answer is they all cause issues, and I don't know which one is the worst, but you should be avoiding all of them. And if you want to, try it out, I guess you could pull all the red Skittles out and give it to him and see how he responds versus, the other colors. But I mean, obviously I'm joking, but.
I've noticed in his Kool-Aid, he prefers red Kool-Aid more than any other. And I've noticed with taking one dye color out at a time, I've noticed a tremendous difference in his aggression and his attention by taking out red dyes.
Yeah. I mean, Kool-Aid in general is sugar and dye, right? So
Yeah.
it's a drink that causes inflammation and, will cause, it's toxic. So, removing it, you're going to see an improvement, I imagine, especially if he's drinking quite a bit of it.
When we started these classes, I started taking stuff out slowly.
Okay.
And I've noticed a really big difference in just taking out gluten. We noticed, like, within one day, we noticed a big difference.
Yeah, because that's one of the most insidious ones because, I think it was week 3 that we went into it, but, there's 8 different things in wheat that causes issues. There's certain parts of wheat. It's not just the gluten, right? There's parts that there's a protein that tells the stomach lining to separate. So it causes leaky gut. They spray wheat now with glyphosate to kill it. So now you're getting, even though it's not genetically modified, you're getting pesticide on your wheat. It's, it converted into glutamorphine in the brain. So it's like a morphine, there's just so many different things wrong with it that I'm not surprised that you saw such a big difference. Let me see. So
Good job on doing that.
Yeah, that's really good though. And it's really cool to see, such a cool difference right away, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm a private nanny, and I see about 20 kids a week.
Okay.
And I've deal with all kinds of different disabled children, and I've put the diet in effect for all of them so that it's easier to get my son to eat it.
Yep.
And I've noticed a difference in all of the kids, not just my son.
You're like making your entire life easier. Yeah, no doubt. That's awesome. All right. Anyone else would like to be brave and jump on with some video? We have 3 brave souls, and I'm going to count myself as a brave soul in here as well. I think, do I have to ask?
You might.
All right, we're just going to do it. See what happens here. And then all they can do is say no, right? Hello. Oh, I got you on mute, so I can see you, but I can't hear you. Look at you. You're hardcore. You're mobile.
I'm trying to do this when my daughter's in speech therapy. So
Oh, really?
I'm all the way in Arizona, so it's only 5:30 here.
I got you. Cool. I'm actually going to start this up again next week. So if you know of anybody that I think it would be good, I'm going to do a different time. I'm going to do it during the day just because school started, and I think it might be easier for people. So we're going to give it a shot as well. So if you know of anybody, I'll be sending out another email, and you can just like forward it along or get them to sign up. So what was your biggest takeaway?
That diet is important. She's been doing, my daughter's 10, she's got mild to moderate autism. She's been in ABA for 6 years.
Okay.
And she just started OT and speech because I know she's behind in speech. But listening to you, and then my friend does their Arbonne, clean eating stuff, food detox. Me and my husband started that, but I started just researching, and we took her to a functional doctor who wanted to do the fish gummies and the fiber gummies that have the inulin in it.
Yep.
I think that regulates blood sugar, so she's not snacking as much.
Yeah, it's a prebiotic fiber that it can feed good gut bacteria as well.
So that's what. So we did that. We took her to a chiropractor when she was like 2.5. We haven't done the hyperbaric chamber, but I'm turning to diet now because the whole time I'm like, why is autism rate skyrocketing? And people are like, oh, it's because now they know what to look for and blah, blah, blah. I said, no, it's too much. When I was going to school, we might have had 3 or 4 people who, went into the special ed classes, like maybe, cerebral palsy in a wheelchair, or I did not see any of all these kids with autism. So I'm like, our food chain is it's all about money now, and they're just pumping hormones, and it's just, that's been my theory all along, but it's just me trying to like weed out gluten like mac and cheese. I'm like, oh my God, I've done the pancakes because she eats pancakes every morning. So I found a happy medium for that, that doesn't have any of that mess in it. So now I got to pack her lunch every day for school, And, like planning, like Nicole was saying, it's like, like she wants a pretzel, or you can't have those Hawaiian sweet rolls in the house. You would have to hide them. She'd eat the whole pack. And, she's like a carb fiend. And so I'm having to do it gradual. I need to do more research and look up more recipes on your site. And that's the hardest part. Cause I'm like, what's the kid eat for dinner or lunch? Like, is she going to eat gluten-free spaghetti with the grass-fed hamburger meat every day, or the gluten-free fettuccine noodles? Like this. So my thing is the variety, and trying to get her to eat like eggs, something high in protein. And cause I know she's not getting probably the protein she needs. So just more education and just building my knowledge here is my biggest thing.
Yeah. I would just
But I think diet will make a difference.
Marty,
Yeah.
have you posted your recipe for pancakes? Because it's amazing.
Yeah, Narendra, have you done that yet? I think he's on here. If not, it'll be on tomorrow.
Okay.
But what I would do is just take each meal, like just take breakfast, and because our kids are these creatures of habit, just like what exactly.
Oh yeah.
Just like exactly what you did. You just said, okay, I'm going to replace one thing for another.
Oh God, I'm sorry. Hold on.
Yeah.
Did you feel it? Did she? Yeah, she did.
Okay.
Really well.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. She was tired. Okay, so what? I guess is this the first person? Yeah. Oh, okay. So here's what we do here. Oh, it looks like you can print it out. Print it out. This is the first one. Okay, so we have your sign. So this is first. Okay. Okay. All right.
All right. Well, it looks like she is in the thick of it.
All right.
Okay. So we'll be back Friday. All right. Thanks so much. Okay. Sorry about that.
Oh, it's
I'll
all
take
good.
you to a slide.
So anyway, I think what you're doing is awesome. I think
I'm
what-
sorry.
You're all good. I would just take it like one meal at a time and just come up with like 2 things. 2 to 3 things that you can just rotate. Or once you find one thing, though, you could just do the same thing every day because our kids really don't want variety as much.
That's been my case. Micah
Right.
will eat taco meat or eggs like pretty much 100% of the time. He doesn't need variety,
Yeah.
but he's extra special.
My son for breakfast, it's either pancakes or eggs. And the pancakes are protein pancakes. One thing you could try is just a great way to get the nutrients that they need is just to get that grass-fed whey protein powder and just make up like a really delicious shake. Like make it into either a fruit smoothie or more of a dessert smoothie.
My son will only eat eggs. That's the only breakfast food he'll eat.
What's that?
He'll only eat eggs.
Yeah.
I can't get him to eat anything else.
The other thing too is like, if you just say, okay, I'm going to get digestive enzymes and start that and get with a probiotic and just do a couple chewables or a powder, that's going to make a huge difference because even if they're eating foods that aren't as good, that may be hard to digest, it'll help their body take care of it. So if you only are going to do one thing, you could start there and then, just slowly evolve. Like I didn't start changing my household cleaners and soaps day one. I didn't even know about any of that. It was just a slow evolution of finding out and, doing more and more research of finding out like what things were harmful or not. So just start small, get the wins.
I agree. I went to a diet support group when I first started, and they said you need a separate toaster and you need a separate pans. And I was like, what? Why? I didn't understand. But it's like all the little cross-contamination crumbs. So, I mean, it made sense once they explained it, but I had no clue. But you know what? If you don't do that right away, it's okay. You'll get better and better as you learn and go through it. Like, yeah, I pulled out way more things now. Like, throughout the years as I learn and research and read about, other things, like, I mean, we do no aluminum deodorant, we do no fluoride toothpaste, but that did not all happen right away. It's, and then pulling out corn and soy and all the sugar and all starch. Like, it was a process and a gradual thing as I went along. But the first thing was the gluten and the dairy free, and that was such a huge difference. And then as I pulled out corn and soy, it was like more light bulbs, more growth, just like exponential. So, and then I used to tell people, hey, you got to try gluten and casein free. You got to try it. And they wouldn't listen. So I'd be like, why don't people listen to me? I don't understand. Why don't they just try it? It's so worth it. But so anyway, this lady told me, she goes, hey, my son had super high bacteria and yeast levels before putting him on this diet called specific carbohydrate. And then after 5 months of being on specific carbohydrate, his bacteria and yeast levels were in low normal ranges. So I was like, I have to try that. I can't be like all those annoying parents that don't listen to me. So I tried it, and it was just amazing. He grew exponentially when educationally, I mean. He grew so much educationally once I pulled out all the starch and all the sugar.
So the reason for that is what we discussed with the gut and the cravings, the bad bacteria and the yeast that grow, and then the cravings and things like that. And so if you remove all of it, obviously, then you start to rebuild the balance. And I know that's like extremely tough for most people. So, you can get a lot of the same effect if you just, if you start to heal the gut and you're doing the restore and you're doing that Endercell gel, because what that does is it takes the yeast and pathogen and help get it out of the system. But that's obviously, like, I don't allow sugar, like, lollipops and candies, and we'll do starch, but it'll be not very often. Once every 2 weeks, we'll do like a homemade gluten-free pizza or something like that. That will have, like cauliflower crust or something like that, where we'll load up on enzymes and things like that. So.
You talked about supplements and stuff earlier.
Yep.
I read an article a couple of weeks ago about nootropics.
Yep.
I've ordered some to try that are supposed to be safe for kids, but I think I'm probably going to try it first.
What did you order? I happen to know quite a bit about nootropics.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I would just suggest, like, things like that is not a low-hanging fruit. Reducing inflammation is. Like, if you just give fish oil and probiotics, and that is a natural nootropic, because what happens is there's a fog, right, on your brain. Like, and I know because I had this myself. And when you remove the fog, all of a sudden you can think clearly. Everything, the world kind of opens up, and that's where, we talk about the light bulb going off. Or with Nicole, like, you're seeing these changes is because the fog's not there anymore. So nootropics take, an already good level, and it'll bring you up a notch, or it can, but it's not something that I would recommend, trying to alter a child's brain chemistry without doing everything that we've laid out first.
Okay.
Okay, because it's just like some of them are good for short bursts and things like that, but they may not be, same thing. It's like, these are small sensitive systems.
Yeah, that's why I was a little nervous about it, and I thought I might try it and see what it does for me first.
Yeah.
Because before I give him anything, I do that first.
Yeah.
Because if it's going to tear me up, it's definitely going to tear him up.
Yeah, I would hold off on that and go back and watch the rest of the trainings. And I think if you just implement even half of what's on the trainings, you're going to notice such a difference that won't even, be a consideration.
It's a lot to memorize, so I got some notes wrote down and everything, and I took my notes to the grocery store, and you should have seen the faces I got when I was asking for this and that. And, what? Never even heard of that.
Yeah, that's why I said today it takes a strong will and it takes a strong constitution, because you have to, you know what you want. And when you're telling other people that are caring for your child, hey, this is the way it is. Listen to me or you lose the right to interact with my child.
Yeah, I'm fighting with the school a lot about that. They're like a doctor's note to say that he has to have a special diet or something.
I have to bring in special snacks that aren't the class snacks. That's very typical. You just say, hey, we're going to bring in his snack. He'll have this.
That's what I did. Everything that he ate, I brought his own food to everything. Parties, I always bring his own food. He'll eat his own food. For the longest time, he didn't need me to bring in special cupcakes or anything like that. For birthday parties, he would just eat his own turkey or eggs or whatever it was. But now he likes it, so I'll do it. I do it for him now, like special cookies or something.
Yeah.
Well, we've only been doing this a few weeks, so we're just getting started, but he's kind of mad at me. He's a big dairy fan. He will eat anything with cheese.
Yeah.
And he's pretty mad at me right now.
Yeah, and that'll be like that until you break that addiction, right? And until it's removed, there's that craving. I need it. I'm the same way. If I have a sandwich now, for like 3 days after, I'm driving around like, I need another sandwich. It's weird because I don't eat a lot of bread, and if I do, I'm like, I can literally, like, the next day, it's going through my head like, okay, what am I going to do next?
Like everybody around him to do the same thing so that he'll want to do it. So I'm trying to do it, and I am a junk food fanatic. I love my chocolate. So Charlie earlier was telling me, can you just go buy a candy bar already?
That's funny. Like I said, this whole thing started to heal myself and my gut issues and inflammation and everything. So everything discussed, you can use it for yourself, and you'll be surprised at how good you can feel. That's what was one thing I was like, you're supposed to feel really good in your 20s and everything. And I was like, I feel better now than I ever have. And it's incredible. So, all right, cool. Any feedback? Do you guys think it was, I know you haven't really watched the whole thing, Christy and Nicole, but like, was it too scientific? Should it be a little bit more high level?
No, I'm kind of an airhead, so I kind of needed all that.
Okay. Because it's real easy to put up one slide. But if you don't understand the why, that was my thought behind it.
Yeah.
So.
Parents should know, like, where it starts from and what kind of erupts from, just a chain reaction, otherwise they may not think it's a big deal, if you don't tell them the whole process. So, I think it's a good thing.
Awesome.
Definitely.
All right. Then we'll stick with
I'll
it.
watch the videos with me, what I have seen. So he's starting to kind of, well, if it worked for his son, maybe it'll work for me.
Yeah. Well, we saw 2 other people today, and we have Nicole on right now that it's worked for, and it's true. I mean, it's science, and like right now we're on the cutting edge because a lot of this research has just come out or is just coming out, and it'll take a decade before it is the common knowledge. right? So you can wait and you can sit around and go, oh, I'm going to wait till, my doctor with their 10 hours of nutrition training, and everyone in the world sees this for what it is.
Ready
Or
for
you
bed?
can say, I've been literally like spending, there's been weekends where I'm in looking at studies for 14 hours and I'm like so blown away that I'm like, oh my God, this is it. Like this, it's just the craziest thing to see all these like pieces come together with the latest research. And so you can do it now, or you can do it 10 years from now when it's too late, right? And from here on out, it's really just one job that we have, and that's to implement. Because literally, like, this is all the information. I could have gone in and like done like 3 hours on each thing, but it's not going to help. Like, you have enough information. It's just about implement. So, and really it's all just, now it's about commitment, because I don't have enough time. It's too much thought. All that is just commitment. Like when you're committed to doing something, then it doesn't matter what it is, you'll do it. Earlier this year, I signed up for this race. It was an 8-hour race through the night. And I was like, I can't, I thought it was impossible, but I was committed and I signed up and I said, I'm going to do it. And it was like brutal, but it would be 9, 10 o'clock at night and I hadn't trained that day. And I'm like, I've got to go run. Nicole, we actually did, I think you went with me on some night run. I had to do it. And it wasn't because I wanted to do it. It was because I was committed and I said I was doing it and that was it. So really the level of success with this just really depends on the level of commitment.
And it's so worth it. And you cannot hurt to take gluten and casein out of their diets. It cannot hurt. It can only help them. So is it not worth at least trying? But you have to be fully committed and get all that gluten out, because gluten takes like 6 months to get out of your system, right?
Yeah, I've heard a bunch of different time frames.
Okay. Well, anyway, you got to do it, and you can't do gluten-free some days and not gluten-free like other days. You have to just do it and stick with it and just make it happen. And it's so worth it. Like, it's the one thing I wouldn't change a lot of things, because, I think it all has helped me be where I'm at today and him where he's at. Like, he's a remarkable young man. So, and all of that has helped. Isn't he, Marty?
Yeah, he's awesome.
He is. I could brag on him for a while, like all the things he does. But like, he cooks his own food. My sister-in-law taught him to cook at 10 years old. So he's been cooking his own food for 3 years.
Wow.
Yeah, he's impressive.
My son to tie his own shoes.
He was delayed on that, but eventually he can do it. But he cooks his own food. He doesn't even want me to cook it. He wants to be the one to do it. So it's a cool thing.
Mr. Independent.
Right?
Yeah. So, all right. I know we're over time now, but is there anything that you guys have questions on or need help with or point in the right direction or anything else?
You answered all my questions.
What's that?
I said you answered all of my questions.
Okay, cool.
But I've got to go.
I'm just gonna look at the website some more and just arm myself, and then just do it. She's already improving, but I gotta, and it's not really the milk or the casein, it's more of the gluten that, because she just drinks milk every now and again, so she would not miss that except for ice cream in the evenings after dinner. But I think I could go to the coconut.
You can make your own ice cream. I've done it. It's really good. So
there's a few things I have to switch out.
Yeah.
And I gotta figure out, the suitable substitutes, alternatives, like you were saying. But I'm just, because some of the stuff I know is gross, but then there's some that, like the pancake mix I found, but I'm still gonna try the others you guys are talking about. Your pancake mix. So, you know, I got a win on the pancake, so that's good. So, you know, and I do the grass-fed beef and the gluten-free noodles, you know, and I'm reading labels. So I just need to make sure I'm prepared, like snacks at school, and you know, she can never eat school lunch, so I gotta make sure, you know, it's all about prepping and everything. That's what I just got to plan. That's all.
Yeah, and you'd be surprised, like once you do the planning once and you find things that work, then you don't have to think about it again. It's just like, that's in your arsenal, you just pull them out of your tool belt and you get it going. So yeah, and don't forget about the supplements too as well, because that's it's part of that healing process and giving the body what it needs.
And all that's on your website, right?
Yeah, there's a link. I think there's a spot that'll have a link to it as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I gotta just change out, just plan and get the supplements. She's already on, you know, the couple, but I want to get the ones that you had talked about as well.
Yeah, no, they're definitely very helpful. And if you guys need anything, I believe you have my email that goes out.
Yeah.
So if you have any questions or anything, you can just hit reply and that comes right to me. And if anything pops up or anything like that. And if you have any friends or anything else that you think would benefit from this, I'll be doing it again starting next week. I'm doing it on Thursday though, during the day at 1:00 Eastern. So
cool.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for it's okay for all the knowledge, and knowledge is power, right?
Knowledge is power if it's used to implement.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I appreciate you guys sticking with me through all 5 weeks. It has been a lot of fun. I know I've learned a lot putting all this stuff together, just, you know, and how to put things together in a way that, you know, people can understand. So it's been a fun journey. So I've enjoyed it. So thank you guys.
All right. Thanks so much.
All right.
Thanks for all the good information.
Yep. All right, guys. Take care. We'll see you. See you on the Facebook.
All right. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.